All set.
All right, I'd like to bring the meeting to order. This is the Tilton Northfield Fire District Commissioners meeting on August 12th, 2026. It's 4:02 p.m. We are at the Northfield Fire Station. Those present include the Commissioners and Chief. From the public, we have from the Building Committee, Kevin Wallman and Colin Hartford. Jason from SMT is here, as well as 4 representatives from Bowden Corporation. I'd like to move to agenda item number 4, which is construction manager interviews, and invite you to come forward and take a seat up here with us and introduce yourselves. Well, thank you first of all for taking the time to be here and putting together your proposal. We provided you a list of questions, and a lot of that was on responses. So I guess the first part of this would just be I'll open it up to you folks to go over whatever information you feel is most important for us, and hopefully we'll cover all that and we'll ask questions as we go. Is that all right? Okay. The floor is yours.
So yeah, we got your questions, and we tried to kind of tailor our presentation around it. We'll also kind of touch on the highlights from our proposal. And I guess we'll start. We can just go around and say who we are and our role. So I'm Jesse Fan, principal at Bowden, also project manager.
Andre Clerks, one of the original founders and president of the company.
I'm Chris Burks, I'm assistant member of
Adam Down, superintendent for the company, owner, and the guy out in the field, not in office.
So just to go over our project team, it's important for us to have ownership on every project. So just going through, Adam is going to be the main superintendent for the project. He'll supervise both sites, but primarily be on the Sanborn Road headquarters station. He was the superintendent for Meredith Fire Station, and that was a fully occupied fire station that stayed open and in service the entire time. I'm going to be the project manager for both projects, both buildings, all estimating, buyout, cost reporting, billing. That'll all flow through my desk. I've been in project management since I graduated college, and most recently worked on Barrington Public Library with SMP. Andre, as you mentioned, he's one of the founders of Bowden, and he's been an owner since 1991. He also brings more than 40 years of firefighting experience. Those are 3 out of the 4 owners of Bowden who will be involved in this project. In addition, Chris will assist with pre-vote and pre-construction services, and then we'll bring on another superintendent once the Park Street station kicks off, so that we have Bowden representation on both sites at all times. And so now I'm going to pass it over to Andre to talk about Bowden, our history, and our philosophy.
So we started in 1991. Adam's father and I had worked together at Mooney Corp for many years. Mooney had 300 employees at its heyday, and we saw a company that was small and compact, grow way beyond what it should. Quality suffered, and we vowed that we would never repeat that. So we started the business. First project was doing the water bottling plant in Castle Springs, and at the time that was a very large project, and that got us started. Adam joined us a half year later. When Mooney went out of business, they were handed project at Huggins Hospital. Kip was involved with it previously, so I took that over, and he's been with us ever since, and became an owner as well. Our philosophy has always been to hire the best possible people because we didn't want to repeat what Looney did. And so we've stayed small because we wanted to have an owner involved in every project. We wanted to have that owner's touch and care. As we grew, we passed along our philosophy to employees and superintendents, and they mimicked what we wanted. And we found that staying the size we did was very effective for us. So in 35 years, we're probably, if you arrange this by size order, we're probably the smallest that you'll talk to today. But our resume, I think, speaks for itself. We'll talk a little bit about, projects that we've done a little later that are very relevant to what you folks are trying to accomplish. So we will have Jesse in the office, and we'll have Adam in the field. He'll be assisted by an assistant superintendent running the Park Street project. And they'll talk about the sequencing of everything later on. But you will have an owner overlooking the project in both the office end and the field end. And I'll talk a little bit later about all the projects that I've done with Adam and what we can do for you. So, that's kind of our philosophy in a nutshell. We've been fortunate over the years, I think, by doing such a good job. We've had repeat clients. The largest project we did was the 8th we had done for the school district. When we started working in Meredith, we did 3 major projects for them. And Belknap County is another example where we've done many, many projects for them, very size and very relevant, again, to what you'll be asking someone to do for you. So going back to Jesse, why don't you start with addressing question 1.
Okay, so you asked about kind of what to expect for deliverables. So we'll do a kickoff meeting with you and SMP and go over site logistics and kind of build a schedule backwards. So, Jason's already got kind of his design outline. We'll meet with him, meet you guys, and just figure out what exactly our schedule needs to look like to meet our goals. So, the decisions ultimately is what drives the schedule. So we want to set firm dates about when decisions need to be made and that will all be communicated. So through the design process, we'll provide periodic constructability reviews with S&P. We'll leverage our relationship with subcontractors to get their input. Before the warrant, we'll come up with a schematic design estimate, and with that, we'll have cost per square foot pricing so that we can determine where there might be some red flags, where there might be some opportunities to bring costs down, and then at that point we can present it to you and you can bring it to the town. What we'll also do as we go into the vote is we'll be able to provide cost materials in plain language that can be communicated to the voters and attend any meetings that that are scheduled, any public sessions, so that we can really promote the project to the voters. And we're going to do all of this at no fee to the district. So going into our fees, that's a fee plainly. Pre-vote, our fee is $0. So if the article fails in March, you owe us nothing. So that's the choice we're making on purpose. You're being asked to hire a construction manager before you know whether the voters are going to approve the project. So we carry the risk ourselves rather than ask you to spend the taxpayer money on something that might not go forward. So after a successful vote, pre-construction services through bidding and the GMP would be a fixed $15,000. Our construction management fee would be 3.25% of the work, and that's included in the GMP. And then our estimated general conditions came out to about $695,000. So that's over the 60-week duration. So within the proposal, you got our full estimated general conditions, and I believe there's 22 line items. So if you want anything walked through, we're happy to do that. So Andre is going to cover our approach working with architects.
Yeah, and I want to make one other point. We're not always in a position to do what we're doing. There's a sizable cost in volunteer services for this period of time. And we're doing it for two reasons. One, we're very fortunate that we're having a very solid year. So we're not necessarily dependent on extra income for the next 8 months. The other thing is, it's kind of a selfish one, is being a fire guy myself. I love doing these types of projects. And I just really would like to have the opportunity, and we thought that might give you a little extra incentive. So, moving on to working with architects. So the way we operate, the first question is that we're going to ask you if we're hiring is, do you have a budget in mind? Have you discussed it? Do you have a feel from what your select boards or whomever is going to be the deciding person to put this on the warrant article as to what you can spend? If you don't know that, that's okay. We will develop something very quickly based on square foot numbers on the records that we have and say, can you take this and talk to everybody and say, do they fall out of the chairs and say, get out of here? Or do they say, no, we can work with it? Because before you turn your architect loose to start drawing a lot of plans and spending money, you kind of not want to know what's going to get supported. If you don't know that, then he draws pictures and they say, that's no one's going to fall. So we can do that very quickly. It really just takes a couple of days of, talking to you and getting an understanding of what exactly you want the inside of the station and the outside of the station to look at. With that, we can develop a spec with all of you and the architect, and then we understand what needs to be priced, and we'll go ahead and put together a starting budget. If they don't fall out of the chairs and say, yeah, we can work with that, then Jason can start drawing as fast as he can to develop a schematic set of plans. As he develops them, we keep in contact with him and we see, what is he choosing for materials. We offer advice on, this might be more economical. This is not going to fit within the budget, whatever. But as he's drawing it, he talks with us about this a lot. Now, we've been through this process with S&P 20 times, 20 major projects together that have all been really successful. So we kind of know how each other operate, and we're very friendly to talk to, and we can get the job done for you. So we think that's a real plus when you're looking at Bound Corporation as a possible candidate for the project. So as we get through that first budget, when we're ready, which once his plans are complete, probably a 4-week turnaround to get you guys a number. You sit down with him. During that whole process, if you have things that you would like to have options for, you just need to tell Jason and he'll put it on the plans and say, please break out metal roof versus asphalt roof, brick siding versus metal, whatever you're interested in knowing about, just let him know, we'll put it on the plans and then we'll give you options. So this again, when you sit down with us with the schematic budget, see how that comes out, see if you have to make adjustments. But we like to be prepared so that there's not a lot of lag time between when we get started and when you need to have your numbers to go to, the people who are putting together a warrant. Any questions on that? Make sense? So, having said that, probably we should just schedule questions next. So, Jesse, take it away.
So, the big question is, is presenting this project for the March 27 bond vote achievable? So the answer is yes, with decisions made on time. So to be specific about that what it means, having a budget by late November is workable for a schematic level estimate as long as we get the drawings by end of October at the latest. So our last project we did with S&P, we had a very similar deadline and drawing release schedule, and we were able to put together the budget, come up with some different options to incorporate and get it included in the warrant articles and passed on the first round, and we wound up getting the GMP within that budget, and we even wound up returning money to the owner. And I think that process, from the pre-vote to the end, worked really well for both of us. So some of the risks we watch out for, program decisions are left open too long. So again, the way we would solve that is by setting firm deadlines of when decisions need to be made. Another risk is scope creep between the concept plans and when we release the warrant articles. And the way we handle that is by working with our subs to identify, you'll need to think of this, you'll need to think of that. We'll identify gray areas that might exist between scope items. We try to anticipate things that we know will come up later on, and in that, minimize any sort of scope creep there might be. Then the last thing is, everyone worries about escalation between the warrant article and the GMP. So what we'll do is we'll work in an explicit escalation amount between the warrant article and when we do the schematic estimate and breaking ground in spring of 2028. So time to move over to kind of our overall plan. So we're planning to overlap the two portions of the project. So the idea is that each trade would move directly from the Sanborn Road headquarters into the Park Street station as their scope completes. So, we're thinking 60 weeks overall, with about 9 weeks of that, 9 months of them with the Park Street project. Somewhere within that window, and we'll figure out final sequencing between you, S&P, and ourselves, just figure out what the best schedule would be. The first advantage in that is in cost. So the subs will price one larger award with a continuous backlog rather than pricing it as two separate projects, with separate mobilization, separate crews, separate equipment, and staging. So that all carries over to the second setup at Park Street. So you start with the foundations. A month later, they move over to the Park Street station. The second advantage would be schedule. So the trades roll from one building into the next without a gap. And then we would also be able to order longer lead time items once for both stations. So there's some savings there. On quality, they'll be working under Adam, for months by the time they move on to the Park Street station in some trades. And by the time they get there, they'll be very well aware of the standards that Adam expects at his job site. And then just another note on controls. So it's going to be under one GMP, but we'll separate cost codes per building. So you'll know at every time how much each building is costing. We have software that makes it very easy to do that and present it to you. And so we have one weekly owners meeting and one monthly billing package. But then each site would have their separate coordination meetings, their separate safety meetings. So as far as where the savings come from, we've touched on how bidding both sites together as one project, how that can lead to better pricing and lower mobilization costs. Ultimately, subs like bigger projects, so by giving them a very attractive project, we'll be getting a much more attractive bids than if people were looking at it as just a small filler project. So that goes to our advantage. Other advantages or other savings that we can experience is one of the things we do is we strive to order early, purchase orders out early, get contracts written early, and just locks in the pricing that we expected, and eliminates having to dip into the contingency if there's price overruns. And a good example is our Oyster River project, which we broke ground May of 2020, and I'm sure you remember what 2020 was like, and supply chain, and when I tell people we did that project over that amount of time, they always say, "Oh wow, it must have been so many delays, and you must have been so far over budget." But because we got people under contract early, because we did our ordering early, we stayed ahead of the price increases all along the way. So we wound up turning the building over ahead of schedule, and we wound up being under budget, which
$750,000.
yeah. So I mean, $750,000 to return to a client.
Believe it or not, the only hiccup on that whole project was as soon as the job was bid out and we ordered, we saw what was coming, so we had every sub order all the major materials. The only thing that hit us was the last thing we did was build a turf field, and we didn't have enough grass pillows for the the slip fibers.
Yeah.
They went from
They had a worldwide shipment
five
to the
companies
bottom.
down to 2 companies, and we couldn't get the fake grass pillows.
Under a perfect record.
Yeah, so,
That was it.
in
Really?
ideal times, what we were able to accomplish, I think that would be noteworthy, but I think over what we were dealing with, I think it shows, why our approach works even more. Another thing we like to do, as Andre touched on earlier, is we like to come to bid day prepared with alternates price. That way, if the GMP is not lining up with what's available in the budget, we have alternates so that we're not then redesigning. So that's a way that we're able to keep the momentum going and also save money along the way. And then another thing we do is we pre-qualify all our bidders, and so the cheapest number from a sub who can't staff the project is usually results in the most expensive outcomes because of it. So we take it very seriously who we hire, and it works out for us.
Can I jump in for a minute, Jesse? Have you been involved in a construction management delivery project before? You're on that, so you're familiar with it. You guys know?
No.
So, the difference between CM work and low bid work, by GC is that we will do all the same kind of bidding, except when we're all done, we collect them, we summarize them, we sit down with you, and then and before we even do that, we ask you guys, do you have a electrical contractor that you use? As the 2 towns have people that they like to use. And then we go around and contact them and make sure that they're invited. Because a couple things happen, especially if they're local. Who's going to support the project if they know they got a shot at it, right? It's happened time after time after time. And sometimes we've gotten incredible bids by companies because they said, I want to do that project for my town. So, very important as part of our process. When all the numbers are collected, we present them to you, and we go through them with you. And we'll say, we're very comfortable with number 1, or we're not so comfortable with number 1 because we've heard bad things about them all of a sudden. You might get them. So, you're going to be part of the whole decision-making process of who gets hired And then we write very ironclad contracts with them, taking care of it. You know, having the proper insurance and working under our expectations as far as, you know, behaving under OSHA guidelines and all that kind of stuff. So it's a kind of a really great way to do business because it's open book. You know, you feel very much involved. And it's a lot easier to talk to your constituents when you've got all this information. And so it's how we have preferred to do the majority of our work since we started. It actually makes it kind of fun. Even though construction can be very stressful.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to local people,
Oh, yeah.
if they qualify.
Right.
I mean, it just gives them a chance to make people see that we are hiring local people get to qualify.
And sometimes even if you're just asked, you know, you get a chance to talk to somebody about the project and they become a spokesperson for you. Been through that a lot over the years, trying to help municipalities get their projects.
That happened at Plaza Library with SMP, the site values.
Yeah.
And he called them and
You got to look at the state. You know, this is-
he said, nope, I'm from this town, it's Bob Center, Senator. And he said, no, I love the library, and he literally saved so much money for the town, just and he gave it away, did it for free, basically, just to do it.
So we'll pass it on to Chris to go over approach to work on the park fixation.
So, a little bit about myself is prior to this career, I was in law enforcement for a long time, 18 years old. Sorry, Chief. Outside of Luke and Eric.
He was a fire explorer with us.
I was.
He went to the
I
dark side.
dabbled, but I went to the dark side.
We said to rebel.
That's right, I didn't do something. But having said that, I'm well aware of how first responders need to be accompanied. Park Street is a working station. You said yourself, 6 calls a day usually, something like that. Our goal is to maintain an absolute stress-free environment for you guys. We want to make sure that the apparatus bay is always kept clear, that the parking area so that responding firefighters can arrive, get to their gear, get on the truck, and go. And not have to worry about, is there a crane in my way today? Do I need to go around something? Is there a dump truck blocking the road? We'll make sure the construction access, construction parking, that you guys can slow down. That's efficient. And it means a little bit more, coming from a personal side, that firefighters don't have to worry about that. I don't want to be thinking as I'm responding, is there something in my way today? Do I have to worry about this? I just want to get there and focus on the job, whether it's sitting a cat out of a tree or going to a structure fire. So we'll take care of those constraints. It is a tight site. We'll make sure that everything is accommodated for. We'll plan in advance with you, Chief, to make sure that, hey, if we have a crane coming in today, or we have dump trucks coming in today, where can we go? Where can we put this? If we need to move something, we'll make sure that that's all accommodated for well in advance. Continuity, again, a written impairment procedure for any sprinkler or alarm outage. We want to make sure that that's documented and planned accordingly so that you guys have time to prepare for that. As far as hot water, fire watch during hot work, keep that obviously as OSHA requires. Any IT or radio or dispatch issues, obviously coming from my experience, dispatch is a lifeline. We don't want to have any delays there, so we'll make sure that power is always uninterrupted. If we have to shut down for a moment, we'll make sure backup generators or anything like that is always put in place well in advance prior to needing to do that. And the big thing, so we are anticipating there might be some challenges tying in this building to an addition. But the big thing we want to do, and this is where Adam, his expertise comes into play. He's done so many tie-ins and additions and renovations to older buildings. He knows that we'll investigate that stuff early so that that cost will land in our estimate rather than it being a change order or something that surprises us down the road. And again, any dust, noise, anything like that, we want to keep that away from you guys' gear, from your fire trucks, all that stuff. So we'll make sure that at all times we'll keep that partition up or whatever it needs to be in that sense. And again, any crew, we try to avoid any crew displacement. We don't want you guys to have to get out of your routine that you may have. So we'll try to avoid that at all costs, but if it does have to happen, we'll contact you to make sure that, hey, we got to do the apparatus for a day to make sure that we can do this tie-in properly and the parking here. We'll plan that well. Yes. I think all that that stuff will make for a nice, smooth project. And that's over in a way that you guys will appreciate it. Townspeople will like. Andre can speak on how we've.
I was just thinking about, remember what you were wearing on your tool belt when we did the fire station?
Oh, occasionally. That was,
At the time, Meredith was completely called department, so Chief Bond gave him a pager, and he knew as soon as the people were gonna be coming, that every work stopped.
we had our own fire drill. We found my page went on.
So, a little bit about working next to or in occupied facilities. We're very experienced in doing that. First thing we want to, kind of our same basic goals for every project, whether it's a library or fire station, police, prison, whatever. Educate and protect the occupants from all the dangers of a construction site and what's going to happen. So how do we do that? Constantly communicate with the client. You met with people pretty much every day, whether it was at a school, fire station, police station, whatever. Here's what's going on. How might it affect you? Give them an opportunity to tell you, here's the things we're worried about. What can't you do while you're working? And you just have a really good ongoing conversation. Communication, as you know, is the key to most everything in life. In a construction site where you're trying to do your business every day, that's critical. You see something that worries you, he's the guy to see, say, I have concern about this, and it gets taken care of. We've never been accused of creating any kind of a hazard, but it's in a school, in school buses, fire station, police, whatever, prison. We'll talk about that in a minute. So the other big thing is we want to jointly establish a logistics plan. Talk about where are people parking, are we going to disturb anything, where are we going to keep the construction materials. Just make sure that on the one site, probably not an issue at all. But here, it's going to be important that we give you a plan for you to keep and look at and say, well, we're going to change this. I don't know if you store a lot of things outside, but we'll find a place for them and we'll keep them actively available. So, communication is kind of the key. So, similar projects. We've done 3 completed fire stations, 2 brand new in Tufton Borough and in Kingston. Kingston is a little bit larger than what you're planning for your station, but very similar. Tufton Borough is a smaller one, and they're just a tall apartment. And then my personal favorite, Meredith. That was an old 1945 Meredith building that we had around all sides.
Hanging over the top.
And it's,
Is that the one at the docks? That's a,
yeah.
that's not, what was that?
2008.
Not that.
And, that was our first, we learned some, we chose some materials with SMP that had worked out very well for us, that were a lot more economical than necessarily having to do an old block building and associated headaches trying to insulate that. So we have a lot of ideas that we can share on what might work well for your stations. Adam will talk in more detail about some of his adventures doing that one. We've done 2 police stations, also one in Meredith and one for the town of Durham. Durham was a fully occupied station, and we renovated every inch of it before we were done, plus adding on to the back of it. And I think that went very smoothly too. We've done 2 correctional facilities, 2 projects, major projects at Belknap Superior Courthouse. Now you're dealing with Superior Court judges, lots of lawyers, county attorney's office, deeds, family court. The amount of coordination is incredible because we had to get into every space and put in new HVAC ceiling cassettes. They invited us back to renovate another space for them as well. Then libraries, that's been our specialty. We've done 12 libraries, 7 of them with S&P. 3 of them were completely, fully occupied while we're adding on and renovating. It's always the same. Good communication, coordination, logistics plan gets the job done.
I did the Hall Library edition years and years ago, and that was a postage stamp property. When you drive by, you have to tell it's an edition, a very tight site.
So I know, we are small, but even we graduated, 3 or 4 years ago to a $50 million school. Our contract was almost $45 million. And we were building right next door to the existing school with kids, buses arriving and everything else. And same crew that you're looking at here did it. So we're pretty confident in ourselves, I guess, is my message. Now, Adam, talk a little bit about your adventures at the
So I guess the closest thing to this job of the many I've done is probably Meredith Fire Station. It was great. Closest job I've ever done at home. It was fun. I don't know if you remember Chief Palm, Chuck Palm, great guy. Every morning I'd show up, drive the fire trucks out for him, bring them around the back, some of them, some out front. But like Andre said, I always had a pager. Communication was, the key. And very, very tight site. But it's all down to having the right subs that know what I expect. My job sites are always organized, neat. I don't tolerate any messy job site and as much as you think contractors don't want to clean up after themselves, once you set that standard, they like it and they stick with it. Clean job is a safe job, and that's how you get stuff done. But that job went really smooth. Another example is Belknap County Jail. We did that while the jail was occupied, around and over the top of that. It's just organization and communication with the guys in the building. A lot of jobs like that.
I just want to give you, we have about 12 minutes left, so just want to.
Do you have a lot of questions?
I've got one.
Go ahead, fire away.
And I'm not quite sure how to word it, but if you were to take on this project, what other concurrent projects do you have going on? And how do you manage and fit us into whatever else you're working on?
Well, one of our skills over the years has been never take on more work than we can handle. And I spend a lot of time thinking about what we can do, what we can't do, and we've never overscheduled ourselves. If you tell us that your goal is that you want to start in spring of 2028, he'll be reserved for that spot for you.
Indeed. I would finish up the job that I'm doing that would end in 27, and I would either pick up something small or go help another trooper out on a job, knowing that. Like I always tell her, I went from that big school that we did to building a $6 million timber peg house, and up in Bethlehem. And the owner of the house didn't know I was part. Andre and I were the 2 owners of the company. Jesse was working on that job with me, and he said, I can't believe the attention to detail you're giving my house. And I said, Scott, I got good news and bad news. The good news is, this is the most important thing I've ever built. And he said, what's the bad news? I said, the next thing I build then becomes the most important thing I've ever built. So, when I am given a job to go to, I'm passionate about my building. It's like I do a lot of coaching. Or I did 100 years ago, but it's the same feeling of getting things done on time, having the guys get into the work that's expected of them. So that's why, like Andre said, once we know if we're picked, we just schedule so I'm not tied up on something else because no one starts my job. From first shovel in the ground until I'm done, I'm in charge. I won't ever let someone else start the job that I need to.
Yeah, we're selective about the projects that we take on because we want to be passionate about what we do and we want to treat our clients right. So, yeah, we just, if we know we have a commitment, we make that commitment, and we're not going to chase more and more projects.
That's actually one of the nice things about being smaller is we don't have that huge diesel engine to fuel. We don't have to take on 100 jobs to keep our massive office and small office, small crew. We sub out a lot of most of the stuff, and we don't have to be going 100 miles an hour.
We're efficient. We can get away with being more selective.
What about, what type of warranty do you give? I mean, say within a month after it's done, something goes wrong, or 2 months, or
By contract, you get a 1-year warranty. You can sometimes request a 2-year warranty. That's just a matter of us making sure that the specifications require all the subcontractors to do that. But besides the 1-year warranty, we get calls from clients 15 years later and say, I got a problem. We keep an archive with information about our projects, if we can help. It might be as simple as, what was the ceiling tile that was in that room? I can't find my O&M manual anymore. You ever know what an O&M manual is? Operations and maintenance manual. So when we're done, you get this. It used to be lots of books. Now it's a little thumb drive. We give you more than one because they always seem to get lost. But that will have everything that we've done for you. But if you lose them all, you can call us. And like I said, I've been doing this with this company for 35 years. Like to hear old voices saying, I got an issue, can you help me out here? Whether it's our fault or just a problem that's developed, we'll try to help you solve it.
We did the demolition on Golden View, Golden View is, and Tom Watts, the maintenance director, he just retired, but that was 10 years ago. And he called me every 6-8 months. Hey, if you're driving by, I got a question, because he lost all his paperwork, so at least once a year, popping in there.
we've done it.
Have you?
Oh,
yeah.
So,
Tom.
it's part
Tom
of
Beautiful.
the experience with our company is,
You know Tom?
again, we're small, so it's kind of controllable. We don't have thousands of dollars that we've done, but we've done a lot. And, we value the relationships that we've built. We like when people call us. We like talking with them. And if you have a problem, I'm not saying that in 5 years we'll fix something for free, but we'll help you identify and come up with a solution for it.
So next time you talk to Tom, ask him if anyone from Home Beautiful has ever pulled up on one of my job sites and not have it 100% ready for them to install.
I mean, I've been in the office too, I've been in the office.
Okay. Probably more than
Other questions? Jason?
As my just
Here to facilitate that.
No, I guess if we think of something specific, we'll certainly let you know, but we'll cover everything we interested in. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you guys adding us to the list. It's a privilege to meet with you and to, give ourselves a shot anyway to earning your business and developing another friendship.
It's nice. You guys did a nice job.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve. Thank you again.
Pleasure meeting you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't get over to America much.
No, we don't visit you guys much either. But, it's passion. That's why I have a voice like this now. 45 years old.
Yeah, belling up front. And
Yeah, but it's it's still a passion.
All right, thank you very much, guys. You guys want to leave this quarter going? You want to recess until at least Monday? Yeah, about 10 minutes.
I think we're more than 20 pounds.
Well, I was only tempted to
Yeah, I thought we were like 25, 26. Anyway, just see you guys.
Okay.
I will.
No, we all know. I'm in for it.
Going by?
Why, yourself?
Everything's for sale.
I thought he was going to say you just backed into it.
Buy a hair before?
No, my father was back there, I missed that rule.
Take over the last. No problem.
Oh, yeah.
You think you should reverse, you guys sit on this side and the other guys sit over there so we can hear you better.
We never do that.
You don't have to, you could do it tomorrow, I have to leave today, so.
You're welcome to move the seat.
No, I know, it's okay.
I like being behind them.
Yeah, you're making faces.
I'm looking
I
over
was
there.
too.
Really said that?
When they tell us that you're going to draw as fast as you can, they're writing checks, you get a cash.
Don't let Jason draw anything so we can.
I'm gonna run the rest of
Okay.
You've done because
And you've done quite a lot of work with them.
Yeah, I was questioning Andre's 20, this last count I did, we were 25 or 26 projects. We've almost had a project going with them every year since the early 90s. Sort of, whether it's in design or in construction or something like that. Yeah. Adam is one of the most meticulous superintendents I've ever worked with. He's no joke.
Where did it actually look
They're in Meredith.
They're in there.
Yeah, sort of, they're in one of the industrial buildings.
No, I was just wondering if they were closing bar.
So the intersection, that four-way intersection.
Yeah, they're right
If you
back.
turn, head back towards Ashland, there's a building right there. They got a small office there.
Was there any rhyme or reason to the order in which we have people coming in today and tomorrow?
I let them choose their times, and the first ones that got back to me with the times that they wanted, I gave them.
Okay.
So,
Finders keepers.
so listen, it was, and I actually had to call Jesse and be like, all the slots are full, so you get 4 o'clock. And he's like, okay, we'll make it work. Yeah, they fill up pretty quick.
That would have taken 4, so I could be done and go home for dinner.
I actually, I think he said, yeah, I'm really probably for that. Most folks want to go last.
Sure.
Yeah,
They make the last impression.
I never totally understood that. It's either be first or be last. First sets the tone,
Sets the bar.
sets the bar, yeah.
They measure everybody else.
No idea. I don't remember.
Kevin, I just wanted to thank you for really, promoting them. When we were talking about which we should pick, because I really like how they presented their proposal. I like how they presented.
No, man. I'm over with him. I'm over him. And there was a bit of a tie for a while because the Meredith Ford Fire franchise, that's family. We were connected. Yeah, so you're good people. You know, if you don't end up with them, I won't understand.
Well, you haven't heard the rest. So
I know what they are, and I know who they are, and I know what they've done and what they can do.
And so do they. They're pretty self-aware. That's kind of nice.
So, going bringing food?
Thought you were having that one again.
I have a granola bar and a Coke. If you would like either one.
Granola bar and Coke, here.
I have a shake in the fridge that I'm gonna drink in about 5 minutes too. We can share
You
that.
stroke, don't you? Granola bar.
You have a nut allergy?
No, I think I'm allergic to anything.
Did you forget lunch or you missed lunch today? You're feeling a little faint?
No, not yet. But I mean,
I like this set of questions, by the way. It seems a little bit more structured than when we were interviewing architects.
Very similar questions. We had the same ones and I
But
didn't hand them.
I don't
They
know,
just
this
sprung
was-
it on us.
Yeah.
so you shared these with us, the other ones.
Yeah, I know, but this one seemed a lot.
I would also thank you for going to bat for these guys. It's not a position that I feel like I can take over reviewing qualifications.
No,
So I try not to sway opinions.
Helen,
and you really should.
when you look at that list of questions, a lot of the proposals, somewhere in there, they sort of touched on most of those already.
Yeah. So this just gives you everything in the same.
Right.
If they do what these guys did, it'll be sufficient.
Yes.
Looking at the previous set of interviews and things, the firms had such a, it was so varied.
Yeah.
Right, the information was really hard to, not apples to apples, but at least get, fruit
Yeah.
to vegetables, because everybody had such a. So
Which is why you
I think this
have the
helps that.
questions.
Yeah.
But this, it just seems, I don't know, it seems a little bit more structured. Boom, 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 boom. So I think it's easier to present to. I think if everybody does that, then it would be easier for you to compare.
Did you write a format on this?
That you,
I formatted it, so when I write questions, I write them all out, I format it, and then I ask a generative AI to make it sound smarter than I am. So it's my words, but sometimes they move them around. But yes, so.
any questions you've thought of that we didn't specifically ask?
No, I think they're good sentences.
I think they didn't quite, but they sort of dodged your question. And a more specific way is, if we're going to build this in 2028, do you already have projects that fit this? Like, that
It would be a better way.
and I almost tried to step in and I was like,
Well, but you should have gone back, this is coming upon, you should have gone back and said, but we wanted you to start at the end of 27, would you be able to do that? Because it's making it like we'll go to vote in March, but we're not doing anything until next March.
that's because of me.
Why?
There's no way we could get these projects ready for bid for
Okay.
fall 27.
You sure?
Well, I shouldn't say
And
no
then
way.
they might have to do some work though.
There,
Get ready.
there are ways to do it, but that means us getting everything contracted and ready to go. So literally the day after the vote, we can sign contracts and I can pull the trigger on consultants. And it usually means me starting some work at least. And it can be accomplished and it's.
But if they're working with you during the design phase to make sure we have the right materials, et cetera, in terms of budgets and things, aren't they technically starting to work?
Yeah, they would be doing that pre-construction stuff, so estimating, scheduling, working.
So they
with
are
us.
starting in
They're not
27.
ordering any material.
They're not.
They're not ordering materials, I get that.
Yeah, we're not putting a
I
shovel in
thought
the
about
ground.
that,
Yeah.
And they,
Because you were looking for commitment, right? Are they going to be committed to being there when, so if we needed them in 27 to start working with the architect, are they available?
That's different because that's office. They're not.
I think they meant shovel in the ground, like actually digging holes.
Yeah, and for a company their size, I think it's a fair question. The pre-construction is a fairly light lift in terms of time commitment. It's the construction and supervision.
Oh, no, come on in.
No,
it again.
Okay.
I don't apologize.
Good, how are you?
It looks like somebody's sitting
Yep,
there.
that's
so
me
I'm
over
not-
there.
I'm not taking your seat.
That's okay, that's okay.
Well, I know we're up at the VA, but the veterans home. Yeah, it's something, all right.
A couple of things for you guys to passing around. A bunch of business cards.
So before we say, you should probably announce who's here, and then just so you guys know, I'll give you a 10 to 12 minute warning. We're gonna try to keep it to 50 minutes, so if we're at 10 to, I'll give you a 10 to 12 minute.
Perfect.
All right, so it is nearing 5 o'clock, and the folks from Fulham are here to share, discuss their proposal, answer questions.
So it is being recorded, and you have there's a camera behind me, and then that's a voice recorder.
I just switched seats.
I got a haircut yesterday, all right.
So as we start, you've seen the list of questions we've come up with. A lot of that seems to be covered in your response. So we're going to pass over to you and let you present how you like.
Sure.
And if we're going to start, for the record, can you just tell us who you are for those people who are going to watch at home?
Absolutely. Okay, so I guess I'll kick it off. I'm Darrell Luter. I'm the president of Fulcrum. I'm going to be involved in the project through the pre-construction, pre-bond vote, and post-bond vote as well. And then I usually stay involved during construction just because it's my life. I love it. And so for continuity, it's good to be involved.
I'm Dave Henderson. I'm the vice president of Fulcrum. I'll also be acting as a project executive on the project. I'm in from start to finish. I help support Jim with whatever he needs, the project needs. And that's pretty much it.
Jim Goulet, Senior Project Manager. This will hopefully be my 5th fire station. I've also done other public buildings, such as a couple joint fire police stations, public safety buildings, they call them. This will be my 5th.
Rob Lawless, I'm the Director of Estimating for Fulcrum. I'll be with the project all the way through pre-construction, estimating all the way through to your vote and everything else. I'll be doing estimates throughout the whole life cycle of the design. Key milestones like 30%, 60%, 90%. I'll take it all the way to GMP, and so I'll be able to walk through that.
So, like you said, we kind of responded to all of the questions that you guys had asked in the RFP. And on the placemat that we have here, just to kind of run through, we have all of our names and contact information, and then a couple of topics of discussion. And then if you flip it over, we've created kind of a mock logistics plan of what we feel the new build is going to look like and how the site's going to kind of come together. So just to kind of give you an idea of the pre-planning that goes into the thought process on a project like this. But, you know, I think a job like this, it is about the team. You know, everybody that you are interviewing for this opportunity can clearly build this building and do this renovation and do well. But I feel our team is well positioned here to be the front runner on that one. You know, Dave's history here, I won't speak for him, but I'll let him kind of get into, you know, what he's done. And obviously, Jim's experience in the public safety world is pretty extensive. So if you guys want to kind of...
Sure, by all means. 80% of my background is public buildings. Fire stations, police stations, libraries, town halls, DPWs. So this is very familiar with this work. My last fire station was in Boston and Columbus. It was the first fire station in Boston in 28 years, and it was on the postal stamp of the project. So it was a very difficult job, very successful job. We worked very well with the fire department. State-of-the-art facility. If you have a chance, you might want to take a look with all the latest and greatest with the steam showers and everything else. So, very familiar with this work. I enjoy it. I look forward to it.
I think that the biggest thing for us is there's two different projects. Right? In addition, on the occupied facility, with the that's where we come into play. Because, you know, I think we kind of jump around here, but that's okay. Our proposal is to really cover, you know, it saves money, you know, the front end, but you do it at the same time, it saves personnel, it saves time. So that's yours. But most importantly, is the occupied facility is occupied. First and foremost, you're a fire station. You have to serve the community. It's not a construction project. It's the other way around. So we are here to support you, where you can do whatever we can to make sure that nothing interrupts your operations. We build around that. So understanding your time, understanding what has to happen. We build our operations around your schedule, around what you need. So our support is for you. That's first and foremost in the entire project. So it's extremely important that we start pre-bond to post-bond and GMPs and design, that we're in constant communication with yourself, design partners, to make sure that we are on the same point and the communication is daily and first and foremost.
To Dave's point, we over-communicate, which is good. We give you 3-week look ahead, so we keep you abreast of the schedule and the stuff. The super will be touching base with whoever is in charge of the facility on a daily basis. This is what we're doing. This is where we'll be. If something changes, all right, we work around. We're very amenable to change. We know it's your building, and we want to just build it. That's all. So we work very well with all our supervisors as well as I will be out here, I'm sure, 2 or 3 days a week.
And we're currently active in town right now. We're doing the Tilt Veterans Home out of the road here, so I'm very familiar with the area. We're comfortable up here. Subcontractor base is definitely strong enough to, take care of what we need to get done. So, but to Jim's point, to Dave's point with the experience, we just wrapped up Station 9 over in Manchester. And that was the first new station that the city of Manchester had seen in a bunch of years. And it was a huge improvement upgrade to not only the ability to serve the public, but also protecting firefighters with all the new decon that went into it. So it's for us, projects like this aren't just another opportunity you put on the board as hey, it's a win. This has real impact on the community. We try to be selective in what we pursue, and projects like this come across our desk every now and again. And when we kind of really read into it and say, hey, this is going to have a huge, deep impact on not only public safety, but community support and the firefighters as well, it means a lot for us. So it's, bless you. There's a lot more to it than just the 4 walls and the roof and everything on the inside of the building. And that's how we kind of look at this. The process itself is very straightforward. We are going to be your partner every step of the way to that bond footing. We're committed to making sure that this project happens. We participated with the town of Bedford on a similar pursuit. They were going for a fire and police combined facility. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it did not get approved. We personally felt that there needed to be more community engagement, and that's something that we're looking at this and saying, pre-bond vote to get this thing out to the public, to really get their buy-in. We're committed to being alongside you. Public meetings, charrettes, whatever we need to do to make sure you get the message across to the community that's going to be voting on this. We want to paint it in a positive light so that this happens. Because you're not doing this just because you like it, you're doing it because you need it. So we're committed through that whole pre-bond process to help with development of schedules, collateral material, any of the estimates that we're going to need to kind of help guide this. And then obviously, as we get through the bond vote and we really start putting the rubber to the road, we're going to start talking about performance engineering on the project. How are we going to get the biggest, best bang for your budget and make sure that we squeeze as much amenity as we can into this building? At the end of the day, we want to make sure that you guys get everything that you possibly can. And this conversation, this is free flowing. And if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free. I don't want it to be a rigid, here's the bullet point, here's the bullet point. It's
I had a question on it, but
Sure.
you could help explain this to me, because you listed this in the documentation you provided, and it's different than what anybody else is showing. And it's the preferred agreement prior to the pre-vote services. And in there you say for a standalone, limited scope, pre-construction services agreement, a mutually acceptable short-term owner construction management agreement for your standard form. This agreement would be in effect only this agreement should be effective only when full execution and should not obligate Tilton Northfield Fire Department to award the post-vote construction contract. Can you, simple terms, explain what that means?
So what we're basically saying is we're going to earn it. We're not going to sit here and go, we're going to win this today, we're going to get you to bond vote, and we're going to build it. We're going to say we are committed to making sure that every step of the way is not necessarily guaranteed to advance towards us. So I think what we're trying to say is that the emphasis that we're going to place on the pre-construction bond vote is going to be one that is going to be so great that we're going to get this to the bond vote, we're going to get it voted in, that there's going to be no doubt that we're going to be selected as the CEO. But we're going to earn that. We're not just going to sit here and sit back and follow your lead and see what happens, and then hopefully we get the project. We're going. When I say agreement in there, it can be a gentleman's agreement. It can be a piece of paper. It doesn't need to be a formal document, a contract, or anything like that. But it is the commitment to that process to say, hey, we're going to do everything we can to get Fulcrum to the next election. Fire away, let's go.
It's also at a limited cost. It's zero pre-construction.
Yeah.
It's a $30,000 credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Explain how.
Sure.
So, right, there's a cost basis. Right, so following successful voter approval, there's a $37,000 fee, which then $30,000 is credited back. What are the milestones for that?
So the milestones post-bond vote are going to be kind of what Rob had touched on. We'll do a 30, 60, 90 on design completion as far as budgeting exercises go. We'll obviously do a concurrent scheduling exercise with that as well, logistics study, and then trying to identify the access and operation needs so that we can make sure that that's all integrated into the plan. The way the dollars are appropriated there is we put a value on what that effort looks like, and that's $37,500. We feel then the best efforts to push the project along and to make sure that you guys are taking advantage of as much money as you possibly can. We proposed a $30,000 reduction of those services to get you to basically a full CD set ready for building. Another investment. We're looking at it as we'll put in the time. We will certainly put in the time to make it happen.
Well, and taking that another step, if the voters approve the project, and Jason has indicated sort of a shovel in the ground in early 2028, what other projects are going to interfere? What other projects will you have working at that time that might overlap ours? And how do you schedule that? How does that work? How does that interfere with our project?
That's this man's work.
So the way I like to operate our savings is every project only has one stream. So there'll be one person, one superintendent on the job the entire time. Because in the 28, I really can't tell you who that's going to be at this point. But when time comes close, after it is approved, we will propose somebody to make sure the team accepts that person. So I may say something, and you may look at it and say, no, that person may not be a good fit, and then we'll pick somebody else. So we have that opportunity to do that. But that person stays on the job the entire time. Jim will have one, maybe two other jobs at the most, so that he's with this project. Right. Because he'll be going through the process, working with myself and Rob through the GMP and all the design process and being involved in that. It's important to make sure there's continuity from that point as a project manager, and he'll be working with the superintendent to make sure, and yourself to make sure that carries through the project. So Jim is dedicated to that for when it's passed.
When he says I may have one or two, they're different stages. I have one in closeout, I have one midway through that's already just in the maintenance phase that I've got an assistant APM who needs it. So that I won't have two starting at the same time. Dave has not done that to me.
I will not do that either.
So I will be able to concentrate my efforts.
Yeah, I would add to that the continuity will be there because I've been a project manager for most of my career for over 20 years. Just the last 10, I'm doing the estimate. So transferring from me to Jim will be seamless.
Yeah.
And Rob stays involved too in the process, even after we come to the GMP and we've identified the subcontractors. He'll stay involved during the procurement process to make sure that what was kind of negotiated during the estimating phase is carried through to the construction phase. So it's another way of us saying, hey, we're not gonna just dump this on somebody's desk and walk away. This is a straight handoff with clear, concise communication.
And that's also why I'm involved, basically from start to finish as well. My time doesn't hit the project. There's no cost involved for me getting it. I just go straight over to the company. Same as that. So there is no cost involved. I like to be a part of it because it's important for you guys to have something project as well. Jim's the main contact, and I need to make sure that it's getting stable.
Like I said in the beginning, I like to be involved because I like construction, and I say that because I've been on a job site since I was 5 years old. I started in this business when I was 13. So for me to say this is a passion, it's a true passion. This is what I love to do. So I love seeing it come together. And I'd never bill anybody for that.
Does the 16-week schedule seem feasible? Overlap with the two buildings at the same time?
Yeah, we are incredibly comfortable with that. In fact, we think it's somewhat conservative. Yeah.
And that we should have everything we need to get to the district vote.
Oh, yes.
I think that it's always interesting when you put down on paper what you require. In construction, we know that's not what it requires. It always takes 10 times that amount. So whatever it takes, we're here. If somebody else, if one of us isn't available, then somebody else is here to back it up to make sure we get it. Because it's just as important for us as being able to match the same street. So if it's 2, 3, 4 renditions of pricing, even though it says one in there, it doesn't matter. It is what it is, and it takes what it takes. Make sure you guys get what you need to get this passed.
And a lot of that effort too, that's not going to be just data that we're pulling out of the cloud. You know, that's going to be design assist, pricing assist with our subcontractor partners to make sure that we're actually pulling in some really good numbers that make sense. There's some substance behind it, so that when we put this in front of the community knows this is a number that's grounded in a certain scope from a certain vendor, with no commitment for them to be on the project. And that's just the partnerships that we bring to the table that we built over 36 years.
And it's all of this, there's really one bite of the apple. You know, the first number, whatever you put out there to the public, you know, whatever they see, that's what they're going to grab onto. So we need to make sure that it is as close to real as possible, and make sure it guarantees what you all have in there. Because if it doesn't pass that number there, then we all know what happens after that. So we need to make sure that we're all in lockstep, and that's why I was talking about getting into the community, how we have meetings, have people ask questions. I'm not sure how much the community is involved and knows about this right now, and what the feeling is as far as if they're supporting it or not, because that obviously determines how much more you have to fight uphill and, you know, together what we have to do to make sure that, you know, we're putting the best foot forward and we get the trust involved, because, you know, not everybody trusts contractors, you know. So we understand that, and we know that people always think that we're just here to make a buck and we make all kinds of money, but in reality, we don't make that much on it. So
we have the same issue. They don't all trust the fire commission.
so we're in it together, and that's my point. Is how do we do this to make sure that the community trusts what we're saying? This is what the dollar is, and I think that's where we can play that. The initial cost isn't necessarily the final cost, but that's where we have to provide cost certainty. So when we're putting stuff together, we double, triple check, make sure that what we're providing is what you're asking for, and we're on that same page. So when it comes up, this is what it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna know before I receive the sub quotes, how many yards of concrete, how many 2x4s, how many pieces of plywood, how many square feet. I'm already gonna know all that. So when they give me their quote, I'm already gonna know if they're high or low. So I'm gonna leverage that recently.
Going back to there, would you be soliciting local contractors?
Absolutely. We use a software that will go up to 1,000 contractors across all kinds of, all the trades. You know, again, to get the best value, the most qualified suppliers. But we want to get the numbers out there because sometimes there are people who are hungry for them. You know, they have a hole in their schedule, they want to fill that, so their numbers will come down. So the more people we get involved in that, the more numbers we can get and get the best value for them. So.
Yeah, if I can add to that, another thing that we do that a lot of guys miss out on and make mistakes on is that when we are thinking about a particular sub, we'll bring them in and we'll discuss their schedule and manpower at that meeting. So we're going to know if they can support this job at that particular time. And so a lot of times they can't. So we have to move on to the next guy. So I think that's an important part that people don't talk about a lot. You might be the biggest and the best or mechanical contractor that's the closest, but he can't meet the need at that time. So it's not going to work.
And we've been seeing some pretty healthy participation. So the last project that is probably more similar to this municipal building, we were getting 17 electrical numbers, 15 HVAC numbers, 15 plumbing numbers. So there's a lot of participation on the market. So this is actually a really good time to kind of strike while the iron's hot when it comes to the numbers.
We do have some good contacts up in those neck of the woods too. So again, community involvement is great. If we can find partners that are in the surrounding communities, we're all for it. And if people have connections or contacts with people that they like, we welcome those as well to participate in the big process. So we're not afraid of that.
And knowing that it's further out for the actual construction start, we're going to build in contingencies for escalation, cost increases, inflation, things like that. That obviously, our plan is for this to be a very transparent project. And, if we plan accordingly in the front end and we save those dollars in the back end, they're just returned to. But we do want to make sure we have those safeties in there so we're not going to be caught off guard by something that we didn't take into account.
While we get a lot of bids sometimes, the major trades, your MEPs, your site, even your foundation, those are ones that we do the process around. We bring them in, we make sure that they can make a difference. So those trades, we make sure there's somebody we're comfortable with, we've worked with. Somebody may be working with them right now. We'll pick up the phone. I'll call another PM and say, hey, how they perform? Oh, they're not. Maybe they do. Or this PM doesn't do paperwork. Okay, at least you know their weakness. So we do our homework on these subs prior to just giving them the contract. That's available. That's not how we will vet them out as much as possible. Make sure.
So what are some of your biggest concerns when it comes to this project? What's keeping you guys awake at night?
Costs.
Cost, yeah.
This is not the
I
first
saw that one coming.
This is not the first time we've been down this road. Because we have I think we're two towns, and we're one district, and we've got some very different demographics. Those people who think everything's fine, you show up in that shiny trucks, what do we care what the building is? We've got those who, we would vote for it if it was this, but not that. And then the other group who's the opposite. We've got those who, even if it was completely paid for by somebody else, they'd say no because the heating costs are going to go up. And we're going to hire more people. So, but the towns are very price sensitive. And we have Tilton, which pays for 3/4 of everything, and Northfield that pays for the other. No, two-thirds. Sorry, 2/3, 1/3. Most of the calls are over in Tilton if you look at the graphs. But
there's a core population over in Northfield that shows up the road. Tilton, I think, is a little more amenable to paying the money. Northfield's a little bit more conservative and tight with the wall. We got some other things that are going on in town. The Tilton PD is still being on the books, being paid for. Northfield's looking at maybe replacing their police station. The school district goes up every year. We'll talk about that.
I think the ideal thing would be one station.
Yeah.
But where there's two towns involved, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. Because they don't want it, Tilton don't want it in Northfield, and Northfield won't.
Yeah.
So we have no choice.
Right.
And our call volume keeps going up. And, it's been to the main station on Center Street. We got 150 plus years out of a used building. That's totally inadequate. So the need is there. But how much is the taxpayer willing to pay? And we need the number to be as low as possible.
And that's what we're charged with. I mean, if you tell us we need to find every single dollar, we're going to squeeze out of every corner of this project, we're going to turn over every stone until we find it.
And that's what we keep telling Jason, we need to get every single square foot out of it.
Yeah.
What concerns do you have about maintaining operations?
Maintaining operations, so, I'm sorry. Yeah, our main station in our headquarters now, where we're staffed, my full-time staff is in a different location, which is advantageous. But, so once or twice a day at least, there's call members responding to this station. So we need to maintain access for people coming on a call, coming to get a piece of equipment and leaving. We understand there's going to be, sacrifices and stuff made. But so this is our call response comes out of the station. Our first ambulance, our first engine comes from a different location. The full-time staff comes from a different location. But those call members coming into here, and then at 2 o'clock in the morning, I want to make sure, they come in here, nothing's blocking them from leaving. That's because that's when we have big fires, that's when we have, rescues. Usually it's typically, the bigger stuff happens at night. And so having availability for those call members to come in and be able to park. We do have the training facility which we use. We understand that during the construction, that might be limited, but we just want to maintain access to that.
And then up on Sanborn Road, obviously that property currently has the police station. And we're proposing a land swap for our current station for that piece of property, which the police department owns, the town owns. But obviously, or I should say obviously, if you look at the proposed area to give to the fire department, I noticed from your map here, you're using a lot of the property that's not going to be the fire department. So we have to be aware of the police department, their operations. They have a meeting training facility there that gets used quite often, and this is their main partner. So
I would say it's almost a daily basis that it's used by one part of the community or another or training.
So obviously we need to work closely with the police department so that we're not impacting their operations.
This is under the management of the administration of the Parks Department. It used to be a football field, and then when the PD got built, they were going to redo the goalposts, and that never got done. And there was Parks is a sensitive park. Right now they use this for the farmers market on Tuesdays, and so some of this stuff, those are little data points that we really have to figure out how to reel it in. Because even getting support to trade this parcel is going to be there's it's not used a ton by parks, but it's a parks piece. And so if we can get this really darn lucky, and then we're talking about maybe situating with some of their structures and providing water so they can flood and have the ice rink and the things they do in the winter. There's some of those nuanced things.
We're already saving 10 months.
Yeah.
We'll be lucky to get whatever we can get.
And I feel like there's a lot of moving parts that we don't want.
Oh, yeah.
The land swap has to be approved at both the town meeting and our district meeting, and then obviously the whole project needs to be approved at our meeting. Just a lot of pieces that need to get
responsible.
So, I mean, the best thing we can do is once we codify this, sitting down talking about, okay, what are the logistical constraints? Let's build a true plan. That's not what we're doing right there.
It's great forethought,
But it's
because
good.
it's a great conversation.
Exactly. So we'll sit down and we'll build this plan together. We're not gonna tell you guys what we're doing. We're gonna learn what we need to do around what you're doing. So.
What other questions?
What type of warranty would you guys give?
On a project like this, so I don't want to say how many years. I mean, typically you see it's a 1 year, 2 year contract. So whatever warranty you guys would like, we are happy to accommodate. Obviously, that comes with some subcontractors are going to see that as continued operations on site, so we have costs. But we can talk about things like that. Usually 1 to 2 years is what we have for standard. What I always say is we never go away from it. I've been back to buildings with roof leaks 15 years later. I was back this winter in one that we did 20 years ago. We build these buildings, we stand behind the integrity of the building, the quality of the building, committed to making sure that we're here every step of the way. I did an office building in Bedford 13 years ago. All the windows are starting to kind of thing. So we're working with the window manufacturer to try to figure out what's going on. These are supposed to be 20-year windows. Warranty was up after the first year, but we're not leaving, we're fixing it because it's a problem. And so our goal is to build that relationship strong enough that, hey, we're going to be back, we're going to be here, whatever you guys need. So, I mean, I've talked to Chief Cashin in Manchester on Station 9, 8 times something pops up.
Different products, like your roof will come automatically with a 20 or whatever, 25 year. So different products in the project automatically have warranties that they want.
I understand. It could be something that, say a sprinkler system was put in, and say within 6 months, it starts leaking. It should last, I would think something like that would last at least 10 years.
I think to Darrell's point, subcontractors are going to have a 1 or 2 year warranty. The full circumstance behind it, if it's 2 years down the road and that leak happens, we'll hire someone to fix it.
If the sub will not come back, but we have a lot of good relationships where we'll call a sub and they'll come back, even though it's beyond warranty. I just went up and looked at a building with a siding contract. A year plus after the warranty, do some flashing. They had a little bit of leak. They came out.
All these contractors have fine as well. So if they have something that's failing, it's workmanship. Usually a sprinkler, for instance, is workmanship. It's not going to be a pipe or maybe a fitting or a gasket, but it's usually workmanship. So they want to make sure that their reputation stays in check as well.
We'll give you a log with all the names.
Addresses, cell phone
No,
numbers.
seriously, when warranties come up, so you can chase something down, you'll have the main contacts for all the different subs for warranties. So, like Dave said, they're not going to want you, if they got something that's wrong, they're not going to want to just blow you up. They may have more work for this time. It's a reputation, and they will.
Well, they're the same as us. They live and work here, so they're not going to leave you high and dry.
New Hampshire's a small state, and again, other projects, if they don't react or respond, time again, they're not going to get invited to this, or they're going to get invited and your stuff's going to, we don't want you, we remember what happened last time, we had this small issue, we wouldn't come out, so they have pride in this, there's a lot of pride.
I have sat in meetings to where the public would say, we don't want this company, this one, or this one. Right before we even start the bidding process, because they haven't done right by it. And subs know that, I can tell. They blackball them. Right or wrong, they blackball them right front. I've seen that happen.
And some of the subcontractors too. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say I've been in this since I was 5 years old. A lot of these guys have known me since I was this tall. So me picking up the phone and calling the president of that company, HPC company, calling company, electric company, whatever it is,
there's a good chance I'm going to get somebody that I'm going for very long. And, you know, our approach to anything when it comes to conflict resolution or just when we just don't see eye to eye is we have conversations. You know, we're always solution focused, solution driven. It's not about contentious, interaction. We want to make sure that we bring good ideas to the table when a challenge arises. We're not afraid to talk about it. That's it. We're not going to sugarcoat things. We're not going to tell you what you want to hear. We're going to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to bring good ideas to the table, solve problems together.
Things always go wrong. There's a unicorn at times, when nothing goes on in the project and there's no change orders or anything like that.
What? Since when?
I've heard about it. But if something goes wrong, Fulton takes responsibility. We find it, we communicate it, and we get it resolved. That's our job. So that's what we're going for. Our job is to make everyone else's day easier, so that when we communicate it, you can communicate back to the community, make sure that you can take it to the bank. This is what it is. So it's coming upon that because again, community involvement. They see things, they start by, they're going to ask questions. The information is only as good as what we give to you. So it's really the first time.
I tell Jim all the time too, it doesn't matter if it's our problem or not our problem. If it's your problem, it eventually becomes our problem. So we're inclined to get them done.
Other questions?
No.
Other thoughts you have?
What do you guys? As far as community outreach and engagement with the station, is it something that you see a lot of people coming in and out of, or is it more just kind of a standalone and people just driving by? Or
Do you mean like for the stations now, or like?
Yeah.
Or does everybody know that we're looking for stations? Is that what
So I'm trying to find a way to ground and tie the station to the community, and I didn't know if you guys had like a memorial somewhere that you have that is representative of the fire department, community members, heroes, things like that. Is there anything that you guys have in town like that?
Not really. I mean, we got the hand tub that's displayed at New Car, and because we don't have room for it.
I think we have more of the opposite.
For now.
There's people who don't know we have staff 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
There are people who think this is the fire station.
Sure.
They stop by and there's nobody here. There are people who are totally unaware that the main station and its staff, and we've got paramedics on staff. I think there's a lot of that, and I think part of that is due to the population growth in the area. The main station is not noticeable. You miss it when you drive by on the back streets.
On the side of a fair contingent of seasonal summer homes that are folks that just probably come from Amherst and have an expectation that people want to pick up the phone there. They show up, so why would it be any different here? I think there's, right, it's just a share of expectation. Well, the number of fire trucks. So they don't know that this guys are working on the second floor of this tour that we have to put special order trucks at lower height because the doors are so big, we can't put anything bigger. Yeah, more paramedics per capita on staff probably.
Yeah. We're about to have 9. Over half my staff are paramedics.
So the depth of talent and training and the guys are really just really, they like working here, they like cheap jokes around. The guys have a hard time giving up the station because it's like going on again.
Oh, we love it. It was built in 1867. I've spent more time in that station over 20 years. We love it. It's crazy. It's crooked. It's when you get in a rolling chair, you go all the way across the floor. But it's gonna hurt me to leave that thing.
The fitness equipment is behind the trucks.
Yeah.
Sometimes in a puddle probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of puddles in the winter. All that snow melting off and nowhere to go.
The guys deserve better and the town
Yeah.
deserves better.
Absolutely.
And we have a core group of, you can see they all showed up tonight. I'm just talking about all the public.
I can't hear you.
But we have all those chairs set up, and you see all the public. I think there's a core group of townspeople who are very supportive. They're very supportive of the chief and the district and the firefighters. We have a good financial situation going so that the equipment, all of it is up to date, everything is properly maintained, equipped, and certified. We're very fortunate to still have a call.
Yeah.
Firefighting group of 13 guys.
14 now, we decided one.
14 guys to complement our 16 full-time guys. And as you said, the non-paramedics and all the rest are advanced EMTs. So we have a very qualified staff, very capable staff, a highly trained staff, and the communities continue to support them. Asking for more, though.
I think we're different than any fire department because we're a district. We're our own thing. We have our own annual meeting. We're our own budget. We don't belong to the towns. We work with the towns very closely, but we are not part of the towns. Everything we do is completely separate. So when we go for this vote in March, it'll be a Monday night. Everything talked about that meeting is the fire departments. There is no town functions. The money doesn't cross over. So it's much different than and most fire departments. Maybe there's one that's kind of similar to us in the state. So we are different. But most people are supportive of the fire station. We've been going after this for a long time. It's how can we get the cost so the town can afford it. I think we have a great plan. SMP has been working with us to get that to a realistic number, and I think we're close.
So let me ask you this: do you think there's a way to sweeten the pot a little with the town to try to garner more support? Say if we as Fulcrum awarded the project, maybe we look around town and say there's a playground that needs to be refreshed. As part of this project, we'll refresh one of the playgrounds. Or if those goalposts really need to go back in, maybe we can find a way to put those back in. It's not as part of the project.
But as a thank you after the fact.
A thank you after the fact to the community that says, hey, here's a bench that has some history of the fire station, somewhere to rest while you're walking your dog, kind of thing. We would be happy to contribute that out of our pocket to make that happen. So just food for thought.
I do have one question. If we were sitting here 2 years from now, what would we have to do as Fulcrum for you guys to sit here and say they were absolutely the right choice?
You mean after the award, after the project's done?
Yeah.
I think it's probably what serves after the sale. You talk about, those companies that talk about, they want to be running on the back end, sweeping up sheet rock. They want to be there.
Proud of it.
That uncoupling ceremony is going to be a good one.
Right. Yeah. Want to be put up in the rearview mirror, have it on your resume because you did. And the trades are the same way. I like firmly believe pick the right vendors, pick the right partners. Everybody's trying to, they're not trying to do one job. They're trying to do the next 3 jobs that they haven't even got yet, right? I work with my people. It wasn't about helping the customer. It was about getting the customer.
It was a great question.
But yeah, there's no side project things. I think there was a certain amount of money soccer fields. Never really saw that on that little meeting. But years later, there was a proposal to build a fire station in that direction. And the chief said, we've been coming at this, the district has been coming at this for many different versions, many different stations, over many years. Sometimes it was location, as Paul alluded to. Put all the eggs in the Tilton, and Millfield didn't like it, and then there was a plan not too long ago to take this whole thing down and build way too big of a station, 50 or 100 station. The voters know that. They're looking for value. They're how do we fix the hole in the boat, and how do we do the job right? But there's a value piece. And why is that building so big? Why would you get rid of this? Build an enormous building, replace all the bays, and you don't have staff. The leading question is, well, you just want to hire more, you just want to grow your empire and hire more people, and we're just trying to figure out how to take care of the guys we've got, respond to it as the match, as the dash. I live on the edge of town, and any station designed in 25 years, they're all further away. I'm not trying to build a fire station, well, the noise coming out of it. you know, they drive by my house as it is. So, you know, it's not about proximity for me, but the heavy motor has a TIG. So that's the nut we've been trying to crack. And I think the last round it was just a station too big. It was just way too much. Bill too big, your operating costs are going to be too big. You know, everybody's fuel sensitive now.
We had 2 large public forums at the last proposal, and I don't think there was one person in any of those public forums that said they don't do a fire station. It was more about the cost. And so we're coming back now with much more conservative cost estimates.
How long ago was that?
November was the public forum. So we had 2 buildings on a design build. They never made it to warrant after those.
And some changes in leadership and stuff, so we're working with different it's the hard balance of expressing how much the town is growing each year. So you have to grow your station to make sure you can meet growth 10 years from now, but the public thinks that it's too much.
Yeah.
You know, it's getting to understand, even when you put numbers out there, this is what it is, it doesn't always connect. And how do we get them to connect? That's where we can get it. When I came on as commissioner, Sean was the deputy and in charge of all the inspections and building permits side of the business. So he saw the bubble. Here it is. It's coming.
And it's still coming.
I believe it.
I mean, I know half of the projects that come through my desk don't make it, but if even half of them do, it's.
We're going to do everything we can. If we're going to go door to door with flyers on this one, get people informed on it, let's do it. You know? I got a lot of firefighters in the street that I live on.
All right, anything else? Anything? I don't have any other questions. Anything else you want to add?
I'm all good.
I guess thank you for the consideration. I mean, we'd be thrilled to be your partner.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you, Chief.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Jen, thank you. Dave, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. For the rest of the day,
Recess, you want to keep it going?
I had PT today, so let's take a recess.
Okay, so you just got to
All
make
right,
sure.
so it is 5:45 p.m. We're going to take a 15-minute recess.
Okay, second.
You need to vote on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it?
It didn't sound like a question.
Yeah.
Camera's going.
All right, so it's approaching 6 p.m. We're coming out of a short recess. This is the Tilton Northfield District Commissioners meeting. It again is August 12, 2026. We're at the Park Street Station, and we're sitting with representatives from Harvey Construction. We received our list of questions, and a lot of them were touched upon in the document you provided. What we've been doing is to just let you present, and hopefully we'll interject questions along the way, and it'll be sort of informal, and that's how we've been approaching things. That works for you. For the record, maybe the first thing to do is introduce your team, so we've got that on our record.
Right.
And we'll let us cover whatever you want to cover.
All right, great. Happy to keep it as informal as you like. We'll follow your lead. Certainly, we did get your questions, and we're happy to answer those throughout the process. My name is Keith Kelly. I'm Vice President and Director of Pre-Construction and Planning.
James Brennan, Andrew Martino, Project Executive.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate making the short list of 6. You guys have your work cut out for you for sure. It's an exciting project. I am somewhat local in Canterbury and happy to have a project in my backyard. If I can have that accomplished would be great. My kids play Little League across the street, so it's nice to come back and see what the community is doing and contribute to that from a personal standpoint. So thanks for having the time for us today. I like to have just a discussion about your project. There's a bunch of information in the presentation. There's a bunch of information that we provided as the proposal. One of the things just to hit on page 2 here is that's the picture of the Harvey dump truck on top of Mount Washington. We were responsible for doing the construction services for that project back in 1980, 79 and 80. And this gets into every one of our presentations for a purpose. I think what it does is it shows the grit that we're willing to go through to do a project. This is the rime ice that would form overnight, if those who are not familiar with what happens on top of Mount Washington, which I think we all are. And they wait for that to melt, not necessarily at this degree every day, but certainly they'd have to wait for that to melt to get started. So that's why that's in the presentation book. We are committed to New Hampshire solely 100% right now. All of our projects are in New Hampshire. We've been here since 1939, as you may or may not know. So we're happy to be contributing to the communities around us in New Hampshire. You've seen the other information on page 3 there relative to who we are, where we've come from. Our commitment to the future of New Hampshire is solid and firm. And this project represents another opportunity to contribute to the Lakes region as well as New Hampshire as a whole. A few examples on the 4th page there with the commitment to New Hampshire public safety. We're currently working with SMP on a fire station, fire and EMS in Peterborough. Jason and I worked a long time in pre-construction and efforts, 2.5 years almost by the time we got that to bond vote, which got a huge success. I want to say it was like 91%, but I don't know if it was that high or if it was like...
No, we were 92%.
Okay, there we go, 92% voter confidence in that project. Not specifically for our efforts, but just the community was really engaged with that project and really supported it. So our group represents 7 professionals that are in pre-construction estimating. James represents the estimating portion of it. That's our group together. That's all they do. Our estimators and pre-con group don't do anything else. They don't PM jobs, they don't run jobs, they don't have to worry about buying jobs, they worry about estimating and pre-con. We touch about between 65 and 85 projects a year in the pre-construction group. Of those 65 to 85, 20 to 25 go into construction. So at any given time, we have about 25 projects, 20 to 25 projects going. But we're always seeing and always talking with our trade partners about what's the next best thing, or what's the next cost of this, or where do you see this going. So we're constantly plugged into that side of the thing because we've devoted 7 professionals into that category. Picture there, unique perspective. This is a little slide from the Peterborough project taken probably last month. Let's proceed a little bit further than that. We're due to get complete with that. Hopefully October, November timeframe, that's the current target. We'll see how it all shakes out, but that's where we're trending right now. This doesn't represent this week's photo. And that's been a good collaboration with SMP. Before my time, and I think before Jason's time, Harvey and SMP had worked together, and it's nice to rekindle that relationship, and we work on a couple other projects together. We're doing some smaller DPW renovation projects and community center projects, another DPW project together. So there's some good cohesiveness between us and SMP, and I'd like to say that we can continue that relationship into this project. And I'll give you a shot to talk about Somersworth, just because I think it's pertinent to some of the questions as well as...
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Keith. So I'm on the Peterborough project team, but I also was fortunate enough to work at the fire station for the city of Somersworth. This was basically a new fire station was built on top of the footprint that was existing. So as you proceed through the slides,
that's the one you got rid of. That's the one you got rid of. Happy to have that.
They built 2. Well, that was nice.
That was built at some point in time, I believe in the early 70s. What they ended up with was, skip ahead, they ended up with this bigger station here. But it had to be built in 2 phases. We took down half the building. You can see this one here. We moved them over their operations to this existing half here. We kind of built a demising wall, built the foundations for the new half, then moved them over, finished half the building, moved them over to the next page. We moved them over to the newer half while we tore down the original half and then built the second phase of the fire station. It was a great project. Took a lot of collaboration with the fire department, and it was Chief Kremlinger there in Somersworth at the time, but he was a great partner, and it took a lot of working together to get to that point, obviously, because we were right in their backyard, living with them for the duration of the project, but I mean, we dealt with everything, through just making their operations function smoothly and building this beautiful station for them, for their new home.
You know, the next picture there shows the finished product of flagpole flying, the sign up front and everything, so it was really a good testament to that collaboration during construction.
There was a whole litany of challenges too, which I could speak to offline, but it was a good project. Very good.
So their original station was built in the 70s.
Sometime in the 70s, mid to early 70s.
Our original station was built in the 60s.
Okay.
1860.
That's where my guys are right now.
Still with.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time for an upgrade. Yeah.
But they recycled their signage.
This was built adjacent to a existing Superfund site, so there are all sorts of complications on top of the regular day-to-day construction.
Great, thanks, Andrew. Yeah. And then just a couple of slides where it says unique perspective. We understand the goals, we understand the challenges. The biggest proponent of what we can provide with our pre-construction and estimating group is the support you need to get to Monroe. As you saw in our proposal, or maybe you haven't seen our proposal, there's no commitment for me financially for us to do that. We're here for the long haul, we're here for the project, we're here for the successful build. We're going to do that at no cost to you to do that. What that entails is cost estimating done by James or his team with documentation that SFP has provided. Little cheater here is that James already put together an estimate. We did a little taste test for it. We're not sharing it just yet because we haven't vetted it, but should be given an opportunity that could become the baseline of what we're talking about, where this cost is going to be for the project. So we're excited about the project. Again, our estimators and our pre-con, that's all we do. They like to geek out on some of these things every once in a while, so it's a nice thing for them to sink their teeth into and get a feel for it. And it's based on current data. Obviously, we have projects that are active and current that give us real-time data and support for that. A differentiator as well is that we don't wait for the next issuance of drawings from Jason and his team. If they want to, hey, what's this cost? What's this look like? We're entertaining a new structural system or an alternate structural system or a different window. We don't need the next set of drawings to be able to do that. Typically, it would go through a design development or a schematic design development, and CD phase, which they'll still go through, but if there's some ideas that they want to float past us, that's our pre-con. That's what we do. That's what we want to do. We want to be able to provide that information to you in real time, and we're tapped into that again with our correspondence on multiple projects at any given time, so we can get that information pretty easily. Obviously, share that with the design team. They agree with it, and then it can become implemented into that next set of documents as a decision in support of the project. So that's the service that we provide as part of getting us to the goal. That can be schedule, logistics, estimates, costing, pretty pictures relative to any of those items. We would be providing that as part of the effort. Jason and I work hand in hand on that for Peterborough, and we're geared up to prepare the same type of documentation for you guys to get involved. That means we got to be at town meeting or at the VFW or the whatever. We're happy to go to the community events. That's my role. You will be seeing me at those events. That's all I do. That's my role, and that's what I commit to each of our projects. We laid out a schedule how we thought it was going to play out. We are looking at a concurrent construction. There might be a slight offset or a stagger relative to activities, like let's start foundations at one and then roll into foundations in the other, as opposed to starting foundations at both, something along those lines. All that stuff can be developed and vetted out as we see the design develop and work with you and the design team. But we've mapped out a plan. We use the 60-week time frame as what we based our proposal on. Is there an opportunity for improvement? Maybe. That's part of our pre-con effort. That's part of what we do as part of our service is evaluate that. What makes sense? Can we
tighten up some durations? Can we overlap some trade partners? Can we really get efficient with that plan so at the end of the day that ultimately saves you money because we're off-site sooner and saving the cost relative to the conditions. But everything that we've presented right now is based on the 6 weeks, and that's a concurrent plan between the two projects. The next slide is a top-tier team. That's all of us. Don't get scared by how many faces are there. That not everyone's billing to your job, but this is what the depth of bench I like to show here. Between accounting, layout engineers, one differentiator with Harvey and other construction managers that are out there is we still do our own in-house layout, which is basically the guy who makes sure the building's in the right location and the walls are in the right location and everything is tying out properly. Not to say our subcontractors don't do that on their own, but it's nice to have a second set of eyes out there and making sure that we truly are building what has been designed, what's been laid out. We do utilize Logan Companies. They're a third-party estimator. That's on the left-hand side of me and James. They are a third-party estimator that we lean heavily on with our MEP estimating without engaging any trade partners too early. So they'll give us some real-time data. They're a great resource for that. I don't know if there's anything else on that, James, that you want to hit on. But
I mean, usually what I like to brag about when it comes to this side of things is probably the most detailed estimate you're going to get is probably the first one. I'm trying to figure out everything that's in his head, that's on paper. So this way, if I miss something, we can collaborate and make sure it's in the estimate. And then as the estimates progress, it's usually more input. Subcontractors kind of shrink those numbers down. Now we're getting package pricing versus everything's making the costs. Yeah. A good benefit from the beginning that I literally could give this to Jason tomorrow and say, hey, how does this look?
And he knows the thought process they got to either, whether he agrees with the number or not, we're going to talk about that, but at least it's a starting point. The next slide is just talking about what kind of pre-bond efforts we've done on other projects. Peterborough being one right up there with the vote yes on May 15th in 2024. That was 2+ years ago. Wow, time just disappeared. But again, we will provide whatever data that we collectively, it's never done in a silo. We're not going to force anything upon this group or the design team of what we want to present. It's really a team effort and a collaborative effort to get there. If we don't want to show something for whatever reason, we won't show it. We'll agree to that going into whatever meeting or presentation we need to do. But we're happy to provide any kind of supporting data and documentation to be able to tell the story and to get that voter confidence to be able to say, yes, this is the right thing for us to be doing with our tax dollars. This spectrum of services, this is a crazy slide with a lot of words on it, and I dread talking about it, but at the same time, I love talking about it because this is all the stuff that you don't know that we have to do necessarily if you don't live in this world, and this is all the things that generates a roadmap for us to get from selection, should we be chosen, all the way through until we turn over the keys, whatever that might be. So our role and our position as your construction manager would be to manage this and give you the information you need to be able to satisfy all of these items. So that's the large list of text, but at the same time, it just maps out all of where it has to go into getting us a project that you guys can move into. The next page is the budgeting methods. James kind of talk about what these two examples are. Pick up a couple high points from what's on here.
Yeah, so again, what I said, just mentioned about the estimates and probably as details as we can. And then as we progress from the schematic to the design development to CDs, we'll do variance reports and show you the ups and downs and make sure that it's still tracking well. Or give you guys a heads up of some things that aren't tracking. We'll come up with some value engineering ideas to kind of bring it back into your budget. So whatever supporting data you need to get to that point, we're there. We're talking to subcontractors daily, hourly. So like he said, it is real-time data.
I think the biggest thing on a variance report that's a good tool is if you're off by $1,000 in doors and hardware, we're not going to talk about that category. If you're off $50,000 in a mechanical line item or a windows line item, let's talk about that. What were we thinking last week or last month compared to what we're being presented this month? Then we can talk about whether that spec's the spec that we really want, or is there an alternate that does that? It allows us to target those specific categories to see where the swing is between where we thought we were 2 months ago and we are today. So that's the nice thing about a variance report. We can take that all the way back to this initial one that James cooked up over the past week, we can take it from there all the way to our GMP and we can see how it's tracked. So that is a function that's within the software that allows us to do that. And we can hone in on specific items. Leveraging the market, I think Andrew is a good example on the operations side, project management side here, how we buy our project, what that process looks like, and if you wanted to hit on it.
Yeah, sure. So what we do is we use our this network of qualified subcontractors and suppliers, and what we'll do is we will cater a bid list based on working with the town to see if there's some contractors you might want to include on the bid list, but then we have a good spread, at least 3 per trade, probably in this market 4 or 5, maybe 6, to get good competitive pricing. But we can also invite qualified contractors. We're not necessarily going to invite somebody who isn't qualified to come bid on this project and sacrifice quality. It allows us to control that as opposed to having it just be an open bid situation. We develop bid packages to help clarify bid scopes, anything that might be unclear between the trades. That if you can take away uncertainty from bidders, you usually get sharper numbers. People will inflate their number if they're unclear on something like that. But that's what we try to do to flush out. And then James and his group spends umpteen hours going through questions, RFIs, during the bidding phase, that eventually trickle down to my team in operations. And then once we have it in operations, we work to make sure we have all that information before we issue the final contracts. That's basically it. That's all the effort that goes in before we even put a shovel in the ground. It's a lot of work up front.
Part of that can be what's often referred to as recommendation to award, or RTA, which basically is, this is who we recommend based on what we've done by doing that vetting and leveling. At the end of the day, it's a group decision. It's between the design team, it's between the district, it's between us to say, this is who we think. You can take our word for it, or if there's some reason you want to take X, Y, Z instead of A, B, C, that's completely your prerogative.
There are times where we may not necessarily recommend the low bid, right? If there's that low bidder has manpower issues, or for some reason has a conflict that we feel they can't service the project when they should. The next guy, as long as he's not too far off, maybe our recommendation is a little bit fits with the budget. So.
Andrew hit on this a little bit, but basically, clean, organized site. If there was any proof in the pudding about how we can do that, I think Summersworth is a great example, specifically in Park Street, to be able to take down half of a 1970s fire station, keep them running, and build crooked compared to where they were, and then to move them all over again and move again. I think that is a testament to what can happen. It is possible. Andrew was telling me before we came here that this is a little bit before my time. I came at the very end of the planning for this to Harvey, and they had us evaluate a clean site versus a rebuilding of this site, and that's something else we do for many clients. Actually, is talk about what are my options. If we have the pre-con team to be able to look at and evaluate these things, we can do budget estimates off of very little information to be able to say, you know what, it doesn't make sense for you to build or tear down half your building and build half of it and then tear down the other, but it ended up, it was a little bit of a premium from what I understand.
Yeah, we must have gone to 8 or 10 public hearings where, there were certain people in the town or on the building committee that were convinced that the way to go was to build on open lawn, right? Which it was slightly cheaper construction-wise, but there were all sorts of logistics like moving the fire department to a temporary location, purchasing additional property. It ended up that we stayed with where it was originally conceptualized, but there was a lot of back and forth to get to that point.
But I think the takeaway there for me, knowing the backstory, is the lengths we'll go to evaluate that so you can make a performance. Right? It's easy to make a decision when you have all the data, and we're here to give you all that data as best we can relative to the parameters. Obviously, safety and separation is very important to us on the operations side. Our superintendent who's slated to proposed for this job is the same one who did Summersworth, so he certainly understands what it takes to do it. But the intent is to keep us separated from you guys. You know, there's no reason for us to be impeding anything you do because it's important that you do your job. We shouldn't be in your way, so that's going to be a foremost priority for us here. A little different across town. It's nice to be able to be on an empty site, but obviously we've got to deal with an active police department. Obviously, this the neighbors we need to be paying attention to. So no worries there. We're currently down in Salem PD. We're building their new facility. We worked at creating a temp facility at another location that was their DPW building. So we renovated the DPW building to give them a temporary place for the 16 or 17 months it took us to build the new facility. And then the DPW kind of shoehorned themselves into the back corner of one facility, and then they're going to move back into it. But that's the kind of planning and preparation we did for that project to be able to get that one to come off the ground and relocate the PD at their existing site. We did evaluate putting them at different temp facilities, old warehouse or something like that, and what it would cost to fit out an old warehouse. Well, why don't we actually use their own facility and improve their own facility for the same tax dollars? That's what that came down to. But it was all about that informed decision, that the estimates and the scheduling and the logistics that we were able to feed them to be able to satisfy that. There was one other thing I wanted to hit on, one of your questions I don't think we necessarily, there was a question about concurrently versus not concurrently or phased or whatever. The short answer is it's obviously less time, which is less money for us to do them at the same time. The other thing that is very helpful in that regard is to be able to go to our trade partners and tell them that there's 2 buildings in this area, not just one. There's a larger project. There's 15 or 16,000, 17,000, depending on which option we go with, worth of buying power that they can get by coming up here as opposed to a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot addition or a 12,000 square foot facility. It adds to their ability to be able to man it properly, buy it properly. We get a lot more interest, and I think to Andrew's point about competitiveness with our trade partners, it gets them a little bit more sharp. More interest for them to be able to come up here. So I just wanted to hit on why that is, I think, a good plan. We've tailored our general conditions and our supervision specifically to that, where we would have one lead superintendent who would run the job, and then an assistant super who would run this job, and then that lead would be able to be between the two, and similarly the assistant would be between the two. So there's some economies there relative to our management, as well as our project management staff. They can buy the job as not 2 projects, but 1 program, and be able to buy the job more efficiently. So I think our general conditions proposal is reflective of the economies that we can get by running these jobs together. I'm certainly not afraid of a 15,000 square foot job. We're doing a 4,000 square foot job right now. Actually, we're doing a 400 square foot job right now. So no project's too small, no project's too big. We're happy to participate in them just because we are so happy to be working and supporting New Hampshire's growth. There's a huge impact for us to be a New Hampshire company to the economy. If we can keep those dollars in New Hampshire, it's a great thing for us as a state. And we're happy to have that as an opportunity here in Tilton as well. I think I hit on everything that was questioned. If it wasn't in our proposal, it was certainly in these pictures. And certainly, again, any questions, I'd like to talk about your project and talk about what it is. We're here because you know what we can do. But it's really a great opportunity to continue to support life safety and first responders.
One thing that the superintendent that was on Summersworth is actually, he's currently down in Nashua doing a humane society, or an addition. It's the same thing, except it's animals. It's a big 10,000 square foot addition to the existing humane society that had been there since, I want to say, early 1900s.
Yeah, I think so.
80 or 100 years. They love him there. He's scheduled at early September. They're going to move all the animals and the employees into the new addition, and then we're going to renovate the existing. So
Where in Nashville is that?
it is Ferry Road, which is off of exit 6.
So it's
a nice little project.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Greater Nashua Humane Society, I think, is the official name. They have an agreement with animal control for Nashville.
There's the intake.
Yeah, so they have that, they have their own facility, they have their own access, that was incorporated into the design to be able to give them after-hours access and the kennels and all that kind of stuff. But that's, you're right, that's a great example of where Mike is right now.
It's not a fire station, but it's a good comp. It's a similar working environment.
Yeah.
It excels.
Yeah, so really nice. And they were super concerned early on in that project. You know, the joke was pets are people too. You know, they were really concerned about what it would take for doing that type of work. I mean, you're building buildings right next door to an active.
You know, it was breathing the same dust that we do.
That's exactly right.
They perform minor surgeries there.
Yeah,
It's
pretty impressive.
It's impressive.
Yeah, Mike's doing a great job.
Great job.
So that's what we have slated for that. I think it's great. Thanks, Open it up for any questions we might not have hit on. I think between our presentation and this, maybe we did. I'm just.
I think so. You know, we're obviously concerned about. Are we able to get everything that we've done for
That's one
district meeting?
Yes. So that was a question I actually had for you. What does your warrant writing look like for deadlines to get into the budget, to get it written, and all that as far as time frame? Because your question about whether you have enough time. My initial reaction is yes. But if you told me you needed to get your complete not to exceed number and written in a warrant by October, I would say no. That's only 2 months from now. Because I have some communities, believe it or not, that we're working on 2 right now, that they want it mid-October. Because they need to take 2 months to, whatever, we're here to help, right? I mean, but.
Blame the budget committee.
Yeah. So yes, initially your question about whether, yes, there's enough time. Sitting here in August, if I were to say by the end of the year, if you could come up with something, a little bit's going to be on his team to be able to give us some information to be able to develop that not to exceed number, right? But yes, I would say you have enough time to get, and then get from January 1 to March 17th or 6th, whatever that day is.
16th.
Yeah.
Usually 16th or 17th.
You know, getting that message out, that gives you 2.5 months solid of being able to do that. I would say yes, we do have it. I think we are under a pretty similar path in Peterborough to get us to a May, and that actually had a November deadline or something like that, which was crazy 6 months before.
Budget committee.
Yeah, it was budget committee. It was November, actually. I remember it was November, so it was November for a May, so truly 6 months before the town vote. So if we had that condition, I would say we're behind you.
We don't have that condition. We are a little bit, I mean, we operate like a town municipality. So it's the same calendar but we, unlike the town, we don't have some of the planning board, zoning board restrictions. We do have a little complication in that we're trading the property up there. So the town owns that piece where the police station is. And we're going to do a land swap with the current station on Center Street. So there's several things that need to all get done before, those times for public hearings. But there'll be multiple articles with the town of Tilton for the land swap, on our warrant for the land swap, and then the approval in our warrant for the building. So there's a lot of moving parts.
There is. So independent of all those moving parts, I still say you have enough time. I would caution to say if anything of those items are predicated on full approval of this project, you might have a hard hurdle to get over, right? Because there's only so much you can push people to make a decision that's an appropriate arrangement. But sitting here in August, I would say if you made a decision next week as you have planned, you have enough time, and we'll be calling Jason next week to make sure that we're on the same page. And then we're going to review that initial estimate.
And is Jason's 60 weeks appropriate?
Yes. And like I said, I think there might be opportunity there for improvement, which only just means less money is in the management side of things. But without knowing which option you are on A and B, not that that's the critical path.
We're at the E now.
Oh, how am I not surprised?
A little over 2 weeks.
That should have been your last guy.
So, but that's not.
Pixels are still flying.
Yeah, the addition is not the critical path. Obviously, the new build is the critical path. But yes, we're not too far off that schedule for Peterborough, which is a bigger building. We were at 16 months there, I think, is where we had that laid out. So this is 14. So yeah, it passes the laugh or sniff test, depends on which impression you want to use, to be able to get that. It only gets better as we start to get more documents and understanding and more trade partner input. And that's really what we rely on them on during the design, development, and construction document phase estimating. Is we'll tap their shoulder and say, okay, how long does it take to get this? It's a lead time issue. Okay, district, are you ready to commit? Because we're going to get this on the truck. Because it's going to take us 52 weeks to get it, and we only have 60 weeks to build, right? So those are the types of conversations we're going to have early on to be able to inform those decisions, to make those decisions to keep the project moving. 2028 is a great year. We're looking at work in 2028 already, so it's not out of the possibility of talking about projects in 2028 here in 2026, which is crazy to think about. But
and that was one of the concerns. Are we going to be able to feel comfortable that if we go with RV, you won't have so many other projects going on that.
No concern whatsoever. Like I said, we have 20 to 25 projects of any given year without an issue. And there are a few that pop up that ends up being 30 a year, but it might be the 400 square foot renovation that we're doing for the Y. We'll make it work. I am not, our 28 is not full by any stretch of the imagination, but that's how far out. You're not alone in the public sector relative to projects that are going to vote or planning. There's plenty out there that are seeing the future as the opportunity to build. We're not too busy. We're busy enough.
we currently have we're all about building relationships in New Hampshire, like Keith said, but also maintaining. We have some clients, Concord Hospital being one of them, where we're renovating 4 patient rooms. We do it all. Whatever you gotta do.
About 70 to 75% of what we do year over year is that's a testament to what culture and environment we like to foster. It's not about the project size or when it is, it's about who we're doing it with. It seems like this is a good group of people to hang around with and build buildings with, and that's what it's about. So that when, similarly in Peterborough, we're going to do a small police dispatch console upgrade. We're there, let's do it. $25,000. Okay. That's not what it's about. It's about maintaining that relationship and supporting our clients. That's the focus.
Other questions, Paul?
No.
Jason?
Heard a lot. Nice to get the story. Grew up down that way, and I've seen the trucks for. Why would you be in Tilton?
Why not? It's a great community.
I was just saying, we have a project manager who lives right down the street, and I'm like, he's on vacation. So he would have been perfect, probably comes every Wednesday.
Yeah, we go a lot farther for jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, the right front, we'll be named for a job if we have to. Tilton is 40 minutes from the office. It's our backyard.
It's all highway. You're not that far out of reach. And I think the ability to be able to pull some of those trade partners from the big city to come up here is not a stretch at all. We pride ourselves in having our trade partners come to the job site and when they're going to be busy. Nothing worse than having them show up, ask for 12 guys, they only have enough work for 6 guys. That's not how we operate. Our operations team is all about making sure our trade partners are ready because they're going to be the ones that are going to say we're going to get to the next one, and that's really what we support. It's the long haul. It's the right client, and Tilton Northfield's the right client.
So in the subs, this current state of the economy, there's capacity,
There is.
It's not dead, and it's not over. You're not getting these ridiculous bids because they don't want to do the work, right?
So there's some real good competition going on right now for this year, going into next year. We just went to GMP, guaranteed maximum price, on 5 projects in the last 4 months, all of which were at or below which had been coming in trending very well since we budgeted them last year. And to the point where participation was good from our trade partners and competitive pricing was good. Yeah, they really are. Everyone's busy, but they're busy appropriately. Yeah, it still takes a few phone calls from the estimating team to say, are you going to give me a proposal or what? Yeah, I'm too busy, I'm doing this. Yeah, you got to give me a proposal, right? I mean, those are still going to happen. It's human nature. Like, wait until the night before. We all cram those desks. So there's still some of that, but I think, to Andrew's point, our depth. I manage our directory, and our Procore is our software that we use to manage our pro projects. It's all web-based. Everyone has access to it. It's username and password. We can give you access to whatever you need from an owner standpoint. We have over 2,600 entries in our database right now of trade partners, suppliers, manufacturers. That includes our clients too, but that's how many entities, companies are in our directory. That's the kind of depth we can get, and that's what we can pull into this project, whether it seems appealing or not, whether it's a little token or not. We're going to find the right people to fit the job, and that's our commitment to you. And we're going to present the right one.
You're in a good location, proximity. You pulled some out of Manchester, some in New Hampshire, but you also conquered also there where you are geographically. Just like you. You froze a little harder to get
Well, we're in Unity as well at Sullivan County, and that's not so much.
Well, that's
real easy way to get there.
Those areas, sometimes we're looking at subcontractors from Vermont just to get to those areas. It's harder to get there. But this, we work at Plymouth all the time, and it's right on the way.
I hope we answered and addressed all your points.
I'm just trying to think if we covered everything. Is there anything that we missed?
No, think out of the questions, and
I'd like to hit them in the pitch, but also have a discussion about it, because it's really about you and your project. It's not about us, so to speak. We're excited about the opportunity. Any questions that come up, we're happy to answer them, and look forward to wherever this ends up going. And certainly appreciate the opportunity to be team player on this.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you, sir. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Jason? Sure. Thank you.
Pleasure as always.
Good to see you.
Yep. Certainly. Thank you for coming. Oh, thank you.
Very nice presentation.
I'll leave you with those copies if you want. If you need them, I can take them back to recycling or.
We'll keep on.
You'll keep them? All right.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, have a good night.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
I guess two things, and one, do we want to discuss any of that, and then other want to fill fit in public comment.
Okay.
So I don't know what you want to do.
I mean, I just think about it.
Okay.
You listen to three, and there's three more to come.
Right.
I mean, we can discuss things, pick things back, or this guy did a great job, or this guy this, but we haven't heard the other three yet. So I'd rather wait.
Okay. I'll go halfway there and say, I think when we pick the six firms that could all do the job, because they've all done the job. We didn't, tonight, I saw the numbers game, the two most expensive, the latter 2/3 of the presentations.
Yeah.
So, it was interesting when we get back to that, into prices. Different, and it's corroborated by the spreadsheet of the, hey, we'll do everything for free, and by the way, it's 3.5% on the other end. So, it's all coming back, and that's, and that happened. Both.
But yeah, also remains to be seen.
Well,
I have key notes and takeaways from all of them. We're not done. So.
Right. And any one of them, as you said, could do the job.
And I don't think about who went first and who went last, because I mean that's a strategy thing from their side of the table. So sometimes people want to be first. You get that impression. Sometimes people want to be last and clean up.
All right. Then we will.
I think it's. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's more important. We laid our message pretty well. Seeking value, seeking efficiency, seeking, very good set of plans that we can all speak to. I think we've done this enough times. We're pretty entrenched into the why is because we get to these public hearings. What is this? Why do you need this? Why do you need that?
All right. Public comment. Kevin, do you have anything you want to add?
Do you have 2 or 3 tomorrow?
Three.
Sorry?
Three.
Yeah, I think it's relevant to hear them out. You can't make the best decision until you know what you've actually got to pick. There's no question that you could put 6 names on the wall, horizontally, vertically, blindfold, spin around toward that. Wherever it landed, you get it done.
I did have one client pick the final out of the hat. I had one client pick the final. They came down to 3 and they were like, we can't decide, so they literally picked the name out of a hat.
I hope we don't get to that.
I was.
Can you just see that now in public forum? You know what these guys did? But there are other things I'm sure you all know. Different things that you perceive differently that just hit you differently. I really like this. I didn't care for that, but it wasn't so bad. I could overlook that because of this. The decision is the decision. Can you make a wrong decision? I doubt it.
Right. So I just want to hopefully make the best decision we can based on the information that we
Just
have.
so you know, I'm giving up Deep Purple, Kansas, and Jefferson Starship tickets so I can be in one.
Yeah, but none of the people that were in those bands are in those bands anymore.
Right.
It's like one guy owns the name, and the wig, and
But
The concert probably doesn't start till 8, does it?
It's in Mansfield, Mass.
great.
So,
This kind
but a lot of them have got the sound. If you close your eyes, or if you don't know the originals, you don't know.
I picked up a copy of the Weirdest Times of the Daily Sun or something, and every other page is all these tribute bands that just go up and replicate the look and the sound.
Tell you what, if you like Fleetwood Mac, you got to go see Tusk.
All right, well, let's get back to...
but anyway.
I'm not easily sidetracked at all.
Still got a meeting going on.
Squirrel!
All right, we have no correspondence?
No correspondence.
And is there any other business for tonight? There isn't. All right, unless there's anybody who has anything else they want to bring up, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right? Second. We have a motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. All right, this meeting is adjourned at 6:44 p.m. Thank you all for